Hey there, I'm Mike Sloan with Phat Turtle BBQ, and you know, we have a lot of folks that come through the restaurant and ask us, how do you wrap a brisket? And it seems kind of like a simple process, but there's actually a little bit more to it. One of the questions I get a lot is, what do you wrap it with? Is it tin foil? Is it saran wrap? We've seen some people that do that. Is it butcher paper? What is the best source to wrap with? And what we use here at Phat Turtle BBQ is pink butcher paper. And the reason why we use pink butcher paper, that we found that it has an easier time to breathe. So when you wrap your meat, you've developed this nice beautiful bark on your meat. If you wrap it in tin foil, what ends up happening is it kind of steams it inside that. A lot of people call it the Texas crutch. Speeds up the cooking process because it sort of steams the brisket inside that tin foil. The downside of what that happens is it kind of destroys the bark. So we wrap it in pink butcher paper because paper breathes. So it still allows a little bit of smoke inside the meat, but it also allows that meat to breathe inside the paper. That way when we unwrap it, we don't destroy our bark. And so we're getting ready to do here is we have a brisket in the smoker. We've had it in there for about 9 hours, so it's about halfway through the cooking process. We wrap it at about 145 to 155 degrees. We have learned over a lot of briskets that briskets tend to stop taking smoke in it at about 145 to 155 degrees. And so it's done getting off the flavor from the smoke that we have. And so now we're going to wrap it in this paper. It doesn't really expedite the cooking process for us, wrapping it in the paper like, say, tin foil would do. A lot of folks put their ribs in tin foil to help speed them up. But on the briskets, we don't want to do that. We don't want to speed it up. We're trying to have that low, slow, long process. So we're about 9 hours into this smoking of this particular brisket. We use Black Angus prime beef here. We use a particular beef. We use Black Angus here for the simple reason is it's got a bigger chest cap. It's got a bigger point. It's a more flavorful beef. We've tried Holsteins and a number of other cow types, commercial cows, just kind of testing to see which one has the most flavor. We find that the particular brand that we have gives us the most flavor profile, where a lot of the commercial cattle taste more like kind of a pot roast kind of a flavor. And so we want to stay away from that here at Phat Turtle BBQ. So we're going to pop open the smoke over here. We're going to show you how to wrap this. Now, whenever we smoke, we always smoke fat side up. And there's a lot of people that say fat side up, fat side down. Well, the theory for us is if we have that fat cap on top of that and it's rendering out and it's getting all juicy and yummy in there, if we flip it up and have fat side down, that fat doesn't have a time to absorb into the meat. And so when we go to wrap that, we want to make sure that when we wrap it, it's still fat side up. And so it's kind of a trick on how many times you flip the brisket over when you wrap it. So we want to keep track of those numbers. We always know that if we roll it twice, fat side's up. If we roll it once, fat side's down. And so we're going to pop this thing out. It's going to be fat side up. You're going to see a lot of really juicy bark coming in on it. There it is. We got some briskets in here from this morning. Usually we put our briskets in at about 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m. We have staff members that come in at around between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. In case you think this is an easy event to do one of these, it's not. 3 o'clock in the morning is early, and they come in there, and both of our restaurants that we have, and they wrap those briskets, which is what you see down here at the bottom, is the ones that were wrapped this morning. So at 2 o'clock this morning, we actually put this brisket in, and so just so we can shoot this video for you guys. So here we are. There's the bark. See, it's nice and firm, and it doesn't fall off or tear. See some of the juice from the fat. This is why we keep that fat side up. All that soaking into the meat, and that's important for us. And so, as you can see, it kind of has a little wiggle to it. So when we are done smoking this thing will be like a ball of jello. So you want to feel it. You can kind of feel it and see how firm it's getting or how tender it's getting. It's not as firm as it was when we first put it in. It wouldn't do that when we first did it. So this one's about 155. So we're going to pull this out. So fat side's still up. And so the position on the paper, so the paper covers the first top. So we flip it over. We poke the ends down. It's going to like wrapping a Christmas present. So we flip our corners over. You see that? We take it, put it over, flip the corners in. That way when we roll this, they're actually the brisket sitting on the corners, right? So slide that down a little bit, and we just repeat the process one more time. And we flip it over so these tabs will be down, and then the brisket will be sitting on those tabs. And we roll it twice, fat sides up. And then what we do is we take a knife, got that, then we roll these back over, tuck them underneath. Back in the smoker she goes. Brisket wrapping is kind of that simple. We like to use pink butcher paper. We find it's the best. I would highly recommend that. Kind of stay away from tin foil. It's not going to get you the bark when you go to start cutting your brisket. It's going to be kind of mushy and yucky. You don't want that. We wrap the briskets in order to maintain the moisture inside there. If we don't wrap these briskets, all that moisture and all that grease and fat rendering out just goes right into the bottom of the smoker. So as you can see, when you have these down here, see how the paper absorbs a lot of the moisture? It completely changes the color of the paper. All that moisture is being trapped inside this paper. If this paper was off right now, all that fat rendering would just run right to the bottom and would dry out the beet. The fat in this brisket is what makes it so juicy. And when you have a brisket, the brisket is a chest muscle on the cow. The cow actually stands there all day on that muscle. That's why the brisket is so tough. And what we need to do is take that fat that's inside that and render it out and make it juicy again. And that's the only way you can make a brisket nice and tender. The point is actually right inside that muscle, and it gets a little bit more fat developed inside there. It doesn't get used as much as the chest muscle does. And then we find that if you can just keep all that juice inside that brisket, you're going to have the most tender, juicy brisket you can get. If you render all the fat out of it, it's just going to be a dry piece of leather, and nobody wants that on a brisket. That's kind of the art of smoking, is how do we maintain and how do we render that fat out of the brisket. Thanks for joining us at Phat Turtle BBQ, our continuing series of educational videos of what we do here at Phat Turtle and how we can help you be a better barbecuer. See you again soon.